I'd like to think I'm a pretty smart person, right? I have a degree in computer science, I successfully planned all the logistics for my Appalachian Trail thru hike, I've managed to get my base weight under 10 pounds without spending a lot of money. Okay, maybe I'm bullshitting you there. I've been backpacking for a really long time now, I've done thousands of miles, and at this point, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of other backpackers and their gear habits, and that includes the gear habits that I don't even necessarily follow myself. For instance, I'll always carry a stove with me when I'm backpacking. I like hot food, what can I say? But I completely understand the folks who don't, because at the end of the day, you don't really need a stove. You can still eat food, you can still get the calories that you need out there without carrying a stove, and you'll save yourself a decent amount of weight if you leave it at home. I mean, pot, fuel, spork, all that stuff. I guess you'd probably still need a spork, but all that stuff, it really does add up. Another example is a GPS device. I don't carry one. I know, blasphemy, whatever. I totally understand why people do though, don't get me wrong. Obviously, you don't want to get lost and die, or even worse, you don't want to get lost and then end up having your rescue featured on an episode of JV Cops, aka Northwoods Law. Yeah, I should probably get one of those GPS devices. But anyways, there's lots of gear choices out there that other backpackers make that I understand, even if I choose my gear differently. After all, I 100% believe in the underused and not at all cliche saying, hike your own hike. Well, except for in this video actually, because this video is a joke. There's one piece of backpacking gear out there that a lot of backpackers carry, by the way, that I simply cannot wrap my head around. In fact, the thought of a backpacker carrying this item literally makes me laugh out loud. In fact, I've had to record this voiceover like 10 times because I just can't say it with a straight face. Fucking A. This piece of backpacking gear that I do not understand at all, with precisely 0 exceptions, is, are you ready for it? Are you ready? Are you sure? The motherfucking camp chair. Why on earth would anybody carry one of those things? So you must be thinking, Kyle, if you have such a strong opinion on camp chairs, surely you've sat in one before, right? And the answer is I haven't, which doesn't really help my case very much. But it's a matter of principle for me, right? It's a matter of principle, because when I think of hiking, I think of hiking. I don't think of sitting. I mean, I've said this before, but when you're backpacking, when you're hiking or whatever, you don't need a camp chair because the world is your camp chair. I would probably just rather not go hiking than bring a camp chair, to be honest. I just have a really hard time rationalizing in my head the fact that people would carry such a dumb piece of gear in their backpack. And the reason it's dumb, and this is the entire question, the reason it's dumb is because it's just unnecessary weight. Because we all obviously know that the point of backpacking is to go as lightweight as possible, and that's obviously the best way to enjoy your time out there. Obviously, the best way to have an enjoyable trip is to just cut out all luxuries and all comfort items so that your pack is as light as possible, and therefore you can hike further and further, you can push yourself further and further, you can really strive for excellence on the trail and try to set a fucking FKT or some shit. All I'm saying is, you ever heard of an FKT holder who carried a camp chair? Like, no, most of those guys don't even carry backpacking gear because they run it, so I guess that doesn't really. Sit on a log. People always complain like, oh, I can't sit on a log or just sit on the ground, it's so uncomfortable. It's not that uncomfortable. I mean, is it comfortable? Not really, but is it that uncomfortable? Also, not really. What am I, Dan Becker? Of course, Dan, y'all know Dan Becker carries a chair, which, to be honest with you, I should just end the video right there, because if that doesn't convince you, the fact that Dan Becker carries a chair, I really wish one of Joe Biden's executive actions lately had been to ban camp chairs on all federal property. I just don't get it. I really don't. And in order to help me understand this phenomenon of camp chairs and why the anybody would carry one, I'm going to do some investigative journalism, and I am going to talk to a few backpackers who carry camp chairs and get their takes on them, why they carry them. First up on the roster is a man named Bryce Bryce Newbold. And I don't know, he's made some videos. Somehow he has more subscribers than me, but that probably won't be the case for long. And despite him claiming to be an ultralight hiker, he carries a camp chair. Two things that do not go together at all. I don't understand it. Let's see what he has to say. So I am here with Bryce Newbold, I think it is, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Bryce is a camp chair carrier. I am just going to be asking Bryce some questions about why he does it. When did you just kind of decide, like, okay, like I'm not actually that good at backpacking, and so I'll just bring the camp chair because it doesn't even matter anyways. I'm just curious about that.
I think what it started is I was like getting into the ultralight thing and dropping all this weight off my pack and everything. And it just got to a point where it was just so light that I basically couldn't even feel it. So I had to add some weight. So I basically just threw in the camp chair there to add a little bit of weight and get my base weight up to a more acceptable level, I guess.
So there's 1,000 things you could have added, though. Out of all the things, that's what I don't understand. It's like you knowingly added the camp chair, and obviously you knew that would make you look like a huge pussy. So
have you ever sat in a camp chair after a backpacking trip?
Dude, look at me. You think I've sat in a camp chair?
I believe
I'm
you.
insulted.
You know why I know.
I'm insulted you even asked that question.
You know why I know you've never sat in a camp chair is because you don't use a camp chair. You don't have a camp chair. Because if you sat in one, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, I can guarantee you I will
and
never.
Like, okay, how old are you?
I will never sit in a camp chair. I know you're older than me. I know you're an old man basically at this point, and maybe you got fragile butt cheeks or whatever.
So I have experience in the form of back pain that I carry around with me everywhere I go. It's from a life of working for a living. Something that you don't know anything about. When you have that lazy boy feeling beside a campfire, I mean, you'll never go back.
Bryce, so you must be aware that it's called hiking, right? It's not called camping. It's hiking. Camping is different.
We're talking about backpacking. And backpacking is 50-50, hiking, camping. And let me tell you something. One of these days.
Maybe in Ohio.
One of these days.
In places with actual mountains.
You're going to be jealous.
You don't got time to be fucking sitting around a chair, buddy. You know. Have you ever jerked off in a camp chair? Convenient time for your video to freeze there, Bryce.
I mean, the camp chair is pretty much my luxury item. That's pretty much the one thing that is overkill, but so worth it.
So you admit it's overkill then?
You don't even know.
Let the record show, Bryce has admitted the camp chair is overkill.
So if you want to make your time out there worthwhile, you're going to ask somebody that's a little bit older and wiser. If I want to know how many Tide Pods to eat in an hour, then I would probably ask your advice for that.
Obviously, everybody knows that camp chairs are oversized. They're large, they're heavy, you name it. Could it be the case that you actually carry the camp chair to compensate for a lack of, size, weight in another department? This next interview is with two guys called the Shill Brothers, and this one really hurt me because I've actually been a pretty big fan of the Shill Brothers for a long time. This interview went downhill pretty fast. I'm pretty sure they were both drunk or on drugs or something like that. But anyways, let's hear about camp chairs from the Shill Brothers. All right, so I'm here with the Shill Brothers. These guys are big fans of the camp chairs.
Classy. Nice.
Oh, Shill Brothers, my bad.
Yeah, no one's ever made that joke before.
So I'm just curious, the kind of the origins of the camp chair for you guys. At what point did you just kind of realize we're not that good at this backpacking thing? Maybe we should just kind of give up and we'll just stop progressing and we'll just bring the camp chair.
Yeah, the origin of the camp chair started when we hiked all day. We got to camp and it fucking sucks sitting on some rock or some shit. That's the origin of the camp chair.
Yeah, and I love how the first thing everybody does when they get to camp too, you guys all try to find the best spot to sit anyways. So so it's just you're oh, hey, there's a log over there. I got that log.
I just don't understand I don't understand increasing your base weight by so much. Just for something you're only going to use for 20 minutes.
I love how you say you camp too.
Yeah. And there was an open chair. Kyle's ass would be sitting in that chair.
Yeah.
No way.
%.
And you bring up a really good point too, Kyle, because every single person that backpacks, their main goal is to get to camp, eat dinner as quickly as possible, and go to bed. So you're right. I forgot about that.
Naturally, the next question is, would you say that you guys are more passionate about actually hiking, or do you feel, more passion about just kind of sitting in the middle of the woods doing nothing?
Sitting in the woods doing nothing.
Sitting in the woods, for sure.
All right.
That's
well,
not even a joke.
Well, sitting in the woods doing nothing is a joke, but I'm glad we got you on record there. It's like the slippery slope, right? So why not bring another item like a camp sink or a camp fridge or a Nalgene bottle, something like that? And why stop at the chair?
We have bought a camp.
I
sink
didn't even
before.
know that existed. I'll be honest when I thought of that question. You guys have some light gear too, so it's not like you're just carrying the kitchen sink, although maybe you are, as we just established. You got some light gear, so have you ever thought about lighter alternatives to a camp chair, maybe like a Thermarest butt pad or the actual Z-Light pad, or maybe just not being a pussy? You ever thought about any of those things?
The reason we have light gear is so that we can carry chairs and camp sink.
Okay, I think this is a big breakthrough here, folks. They've decided that ultralight for them isn't about lightening the pack so that they can hike more miles or just be safer out there. They've decided that ultralight is about lightening the pack so they can fill it with a bunch of unnecessary that should be reserved for Boy Scouts, let's be honest. So that's interesting. That's a perspective I didn't.
No Boy Scouts use camp chairs. We're way ahead of them and out of their league.
I'm not really surprised that you guys bring them, given that you've voluntarily hiked with Dan Becker on multiple occasions, but it is kind of interesting to hear.
He brings a camp chair.
Oh, we know he brings a camp chair. Are there any closing thoughts?
No, I mean it's just nice to be a part of a community that's so accepting of other people's like styles of backpacking and camping. Like I always appreciate that.
I don't know, guys. At the end of the day, talking to Bryce and to the Shill Brothers just left me thoroughly unsatisfied. I did not get the answers I was hoping for. I put a lot of time into this investigation. I spent a lot of time over the past few days thinking about camp chairs, and I'm left with more questions than I had when I started, which is unfortunate. If you carry a camp chair, leave a comment down below and talk some smack, because you're probably hating this video. Kind of sucks. I mean, if you hate camp chairs as much as I do, clearly, post a comment, let me know why you hate camp chairs. We can have a very civil discussion that I promise you will not degrade into degeneracy within a few comments. I was gonna plug my Patreon now too, but I feel like this video is just so I can't even. Check out the Patreon, but really I should just be begging you not to unsubscribe. So yeah, thanks for watching. This is a fucking weird video.